This is Coach Lee with myexpatcoach.com, and today I'm going to talk to you about what the real deal is when you have been dumped by a married person. Please take a second and click the subscribe button below so that you can be notified when I have more content that's helpful to your situation. And that includes relationship and attraction videos. So just take a second and click the subscribe button below. Now, a lot of times people will be dating a married person and things won't be going as well as it had been. And I'm not here in this video to make judgment statements or to tell you what to do. I'm simply going to discuss why the no contact rule and some of the other strategies for breakups don't apply as strongly in this type of situation. So when you're dating a married person and all of a sudden things go poorly, they break up with you or they tell you they need space, and you go to apply some very sound strategy as far as getting an ex back on this married person by going into no contact, by giving them their space and giving them the breakup. And you expect that your results will be as good as many of the people who are dating single people who go into no contact after they have been broken up with. Sometimes it can be as effective. However, in many of the situations, no contact is not nearly as effective on a married person, and here's why. First of all, I need to explain sort of the dynamic of what's going on when a married person is dating you and they are remaining married. They're living with their spouse and their family if they have one, other than their spouse if they have kids, for example. This person is experiencing a level of fulfillment, relational fulfillment, that is different than yours most likely, because they are getting some sort of support from their spouse. So maybe that's in the area of companionship. Maybe they're still good friends with their spouse. They have a co-parent. It could even be they're still sleeping with their spouse, so they're getting sexual fulfillment. They're getting some romantic fulfillment. And you might fill in one of those gaps. So if they are not getting sexual fulfillment from their spouse, or it's not to the degree that they want, then if they're getting that with you, then they're filling that gap. And so they feel fulfilled in their life because they are now complete, so to speak, or at least they feel complete because that one area where they weren't fulfilled is being fulfilled by you. And of course, that can be true with other areas, such as friendship. If they're not feeling just a simple friendship with their spouse and they feel it with you, then they're more fulfilled as a person in general. The same can be true if it's co-parenting. For example, if the spouse travels on business an awful lot and you're actually there in many ways as a parent helping with the kids in some way, that can make them a more fulfilled person as well. It can also be emotional. If their spouse is emotionally distant and they don't feel a connection there, but they do with you, and yet they feel connection in other areas with their spouse, since they have that one gap and you fill that gap, now they feel fulfilled and complete because that gap has been filled. Another area could be intellectually. If they don't feel that their spouse matches them intellectually and they're not able to have conversations that are deep about life, the universe, all those kind of things, and they feel that they can have this type of intellectual discussion with you and you are intellectually stimulating to them, then they can feel fulfilled if the other areas are met by their spouse. And so in some ways, you are filling a role that helps them be complete. So whereas to you, this person might be your sole source of fulfillment and that they fulfill you in all those areas, or at least you're trying to get fulfillment from them in all of those areas, they only need you for the one area. Now that doesn't mean that they wouldn't receive any intellectual stimulation and fulfillment from you, or any emotional fulfillment from you, or any sexual fulfillment from you if your relationship with them is an emotional affair and not sexual. But if they are getting fulfillment to some degree from their spouse, then you are simply making up for what is lacking, which means your role is actually less than that of their spouse in some situations. Now, I'm generalizing. Situations are different. You could fulfill more in this person than just one area. If you two are in some sort of open relationship where you are getting fulfillment from other people and they are getting fulfillment from their spouse in other areas, it can be complicated. But I'm just saying that most of the time when someone is dating a married person, they experience fulfillment differently than they would if you were dating a single person. So back to the breakup that I mentioned. This married person breaks up with you, and you do all that you can do, which is to go into no contact to try to get them back. If the situation is as I described it, to where they do have some sort of relationship with their spouse and there are positive elements to that, then when you go into no contact with them, you're not taking everything away from them as you would be if they were single. For example, if you were sexual fun for them and you were basically icing on the cake in a lot of ways, then they have a lot more to fall back on. And no contact doesn't really yank the rug out from underneath them. It doesn't make things nearly as complicated because they do have these other areas where their spouse fulfills them. And it's also very possible that their spouse could fulfill them in the missing area. So if this is a married person and they've been married for a while and sex is just not as intense as it used to be, it's not as fun as it used to be, and they've been with you primarily to get that fulfilled. That doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you and that they don't have emotional connection to you, or that they are not intellectually stimulated by you. It just means that the biggest area of their life where they needed some fulfillment was sexual. And so if you are able to fulfill them in that area, then that's where they are getting the most fulfillment from you. So if they were to break up with you and you go into no contact, and now they are not getting that sexual fulfillment from you and you are letting them live in that and experience life without you to that degree, if at one point their spouse did provide sexual fulfillment for them and it was something that they liked and got fulfillment from, then it's possible they can go back to that, especially if their spouse wanted to and has been wanting to be part of that and they've been withholding or holding back because of you. So the married person has more backup plans. If they were getting emotional fulfillment from you and they break up with you and you go into no contact, then if their spouse ever did provide emotional fulfillment, it's possible that can happen again. They can at least try. They have an option. And of course, the same is true for intellectual fulfillment, spiritual fulfillment, and whatever area there might even be. If that's recreational companionship or a shared career interests or shared hobbies, whatever that is. If you were providing certain areas of fulfillment and their spouse was also providing certain areas of fulfillment, even if that's co-parenting or financial support or a social structure in their lives that they can be seen with and connected to, then they are able to fall back onto this person for those things at least. And whatever area you were providing them, it's possible that they can reignite that with their spouse as well. They at least have another option, something else to consider, something else to work on. So no contact is not likely to be as effective with that person, which can cause you a great deal of frustration because it's far more difficult on you, most likely because you were getting all those areas from this person if you're in the type of relationship that I'm describing. And so this person can move forward without feeling the devastation of a breakup, whereas you are feeling it completely. The other area is that this person might even contact you and you mistakenly think that they're missing you and wanting to get back together. Now they might be missing you. Sure, if they cared about you, they miss you being there. They wish that there was some way they could live a double life continually and have you in it. They wish that they could have this marriage and have you, or just have you, but yet they don't want to leave this marriage, and so it's difficult. But they might reach out just to make sure that you're still there in case they ever want you back, in case they ever have interest again, in case their spouse doesn't fulfill them in that area as well as you did, and they want something extra every now and then. I know that it is difficult to hear, but it's basically like they don't want you to get too close, and so they break up with you. But if you get too far, they want to kind of rope you back in to keep you where they want you for when they feel that they can need you, they can use you, maybe. They can at least bring you back for a time. Obviously, I don't know the motives of this person. I'm not saying that they don't care about you, but what I am telling you is that there's another person in their life who at one point they most likely cared about and probably still do. and that they can reignite several of those things with this person. And so you are at an incredible disadvantage in this relationship, even if it seems very intense with them, even if they tell you that you are their soulmate and you've had that kind of conversation and they tell you they want to be with you and not this person, but they just can't leave the marriage because of the kids or whatever. After a certain amount of time, and I don't know what that time is for you, but I can tell you that most people in that situation don't intend on leaving the marriage because they are getting a level of fulfillment from you and from the marriage. And so they need both to feel complete, to feel fulfilled. So you play a role, and if they break up with you, they might want to keep you orbiting the situation, orbiting them, just in case they want you back. Or maybe they plan to get you back at a certain time. But they will possibly even reach out just to make sure you kind of stay close enough where they can get you when they need you or want you again. So being dumped by this person means there are different rules and that they have a tremendous advantage in being able to be strong through the breakup, and you have a disadvantage. It's far more difficult on you most of the time. It might even be best for you to move on. I want you to consider that a single person like yourself would actually make for a much better situation simply because you two would rely on each other for those areas of fulfillment. And therefore, if they were to break up with you or things were to get difficult, they could see that in you and see the need for that and want that with you and miss you without having someone else to fall back on, unless, of course, you're in an open relationship where they're cheating on you. Obviously, I can't address every situation, but I'm just telling you that if you are dating a married person and they break up with you, they have a tremendous advantage in terms of moving on, getting over it, and not being affected as much by no contact. That does not mean they won't miss you. And they will probably reach out because they're not hearing from you, and they want to make sure that you do stay orbiting them, that you do stay at least reasonably close in case they need you again. Because sometimes they like the idea of just kind of having you there over the years for when they need you, for when they want some fun. And if you want something far more serious and exclusive and long-term and permanent than that, then that's a big problem. I know that you're going through something difficult and that you already probably feel guilty about it, or maybe you don't, but I know it's difficult. And so I want you to know that a breakup is different when it's from a married person, when they break up with you, and that a lot of the rules don't apply, and it will be more difficult on you in terms of trying to get them back because they're playing a different game. They are literally on a different playing field than you. If this content has been helpful to you, please click the subscribe button below, and you can be notified when I have other videos that are helpful to your situation or on relationships and attraction in general. If you want to schedule a coaching call with me, visit myexpatcoach.com. That's myexpatcoach.com for a coaching call with me. This has been Lee with myexpatcoach.com. Thank you for watching.